Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in this fine land of ours. I want to welcome you to another session here with Keynote Search. My name is Daryl Prale. How you doing, folks? Today's going to be a fun one. Today we're talking about how to successfully evolve your sales team. And it's not just evolving, because evolving connotes the whole thing. I'm going to transition from A to B. It's really the whole life cycle of sales, from, bringing somebody on to ramping them up to giving them the skills they need, and then to kind of measuring, monitoring, and then eventually just determining perhaps they're not a good fit. Perhaps we need to move them out. And then everything along the way, whether it be compensation or just, how do you convey the message to the organization as you grow and evolve that sales team? What does that mean? How does that impact people? It truly is all about hiring, performance, and exits. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's going to be kind of fun. Best of all, I'm in a room full of really cool people. You're going to meet them shortly. They're spirited, so I like that. There's going to be some attitude. I'm loving that. And we're going to have a debate. Partway through this whole conversation, we're going to have a debate, and I expect a variety of opinions. I may chirp in myself. I have some background on this. So if you're okay to get started, let's do this. Let's go forward and meet our panelists. I told you they were kind of cool. Now, if you've been to any of the webinars we've done here at Keynote Search, James Baker he's like a staple in every single one. And what's really exciting, James, because when you listen to him, he's got that wonderful accent that does not sound Canadian. I won't give it away. I'll let you figure it out. But it turns out the big news is, for better or for worse, he is now officially a Canadian citizen. So get on the chat window, send him his congratulations. We're excited to have him here. If you don't know James, well, let me tell you, he is an award-winning entrepreneur and the co-founder of Keynote Group with over a decade of experience in the recruiting industry. He began Keynote to fix a broken industry. He has developed a unique search process that leverages artificial intelligence to find, fit, and onboard employees more effectively. James, my good friend, it is so good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, my friend. You're looking good today, I have to say. So that's the only thing you can't share with the audience, how dashing you look.
How dashing I look. Oh my, okay. Are you okay? Normally James and I have this witty banter back and forth. I'm going to save
that for later on.
I'm feeling like I'm being set up here. Next up is Kecia Podetz. I said that wrong. Kecia Podetz. I see it's the first emphasis on the first syllable, and I had it right in practice. I'm sorry, Kecia. We'll get through this, though. She is a partner at, and I'm going to get this wrong too, Emond, Harnden. Oh my goodness, I'm sucking today. She's an experienced advocate who represents her clients in formal and informal employment labor settings. She is passionate about providing guidance and advice to her clients as they manage their day-to-day, as well as more complex human resources matters. And candidly, to you and I, sales can be a complex human resource matter. Her clients appreciate her experience, her plain language, which we're going to see today, and her engaging manner, which I can attest to you is definitely the case. Kecia, apologies. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Darrell.
I had that one coming. Next up is my good friend, Keni Gibson. He serves as BriteSky's Director of Sales. He provides strategic direction in implementing his sales processes. He has 13 years, maybe more, who knows, of successful sales experience in the Canadian telecommunications market with an extensive background in business continuity planning and IT infrastructure. Considered a thought leader in the IT sales community, hence why he's here for today, folks. Keni is also an avid outdoorsman with strong community ties in the Ottawa Valley. Keni, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, I had a question for you, Keni. Do you prefer Keni? Do you prefer Ken? I mean, because I clearly screwed up there when I slipped.
So I get that question all the time is, you're pushing 40. Why aren't you going by Ken now?
Yeah.
And it's the funny spelling of it.
It stands out. If you don't, guys
forgets it.
Yeah, Keni. And I've not seen that before.
So strange. So it's like the self-brand. Stuck with it. Somebody in marketing years ago said, hey, leave it as Keni.
Classic sales. So it sounds like you're a sales guy using marketing tactics. So clearly we can see here that marketing leads the conversation. I say that just for James. He's looking at me. He doesn't know what to say. All right, with that, I'm going to celebrate that victory. And so let's kickstart the whole process here. Okay, so hiring your next salesperson. So, what is the catalyst for that, folks? I mean, is your company growing? Are you finally thinking we need the CEO can't sell anymore, the founder, what have you? Are you experiencing massive growth? Are you looking to upgrade? There's so many things that are involved with hiring your next salesperson. So perhaps what I'll do here is I'll allow my good friend over here, the charismatic Brit, who's going to be serving. What did you say? It was American. What was it you said earlier? You're going to be watching European football, or was it British football?
Well, yeah, it's European Champions League. Final,
Okay,
yeah.
European, because I get corrected by my son all the time when I say Europe or in British, and it's a whole different thing. This weekend, and then you're going to be serving American
beer,
American
with
beer.
Solo cups. So it's going to be the most North American themed European
event going on.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, take us away. Talk to me, sir, about hiring your next salespeople.
Yes, I mean the whole crux of this came from the fact that most organizations, you can have the best marketing team in the world, you can have the best operations group, unless you can sell your product or service, the business is going to fail. And so we see that constantly. We've seen that within the technology sector locally. We've seen it with the majority of our clients. There's always a gap on the sales side they're trying to close. Either they want more sales, maybe they need better customer engagement, customer retention. So what we wanted to do is to find a way where we could have a conversation about the journey that your sales team and people go through with the organization, from how you're attracting the right people to how you're augmenting the team if there's performance issues. Because Keni and I are both sales guys. We both grew up in sales. It's a competitive landscape. So every day you're competing with your competitors, but also competing for your job to stay employed year on, year out. So we wanted to talk about that. So having the opportunity to have a lawyer with a salesperson, with a marketing person in the room together, where we can talk about all of these developments, was really what we wanted to accomplish today.
All right. Now, let me bring it over to you, because I know we have an interesting debate coming up, Keni. But for context, obviously you're in the sales game, you're doing it for a long time. I'm assuming you have a sales team?
Currently, I'm building a sales team.
So you're almost an example of going through this.
Living it daily right now, trying to find the right talent.
And a good recruiter if you need.
I know. Yeah, there's a nice plug.
Keynote Search, check it out.
Yeah. Oh, I started with no.
That's right.
No, so yeah, I'm living it, right? Do I go try to find the next superstar if they're out there, if they're available, or do I start growing? I've been very successful in the last organization I was with, great local organization called Verster, is where we determined that we were better off growing them through a business development program. So yeah, if there are any really good salespeople out there, reach out, or at least you believe you are.
Keni a
we
call.
need to have a conversation.
We will give you his contact information at the end of the webinar. One more hook to make you stay to the end. What are the challenges you face as you look at growing your team? Are there certain characteristics you look for?
So when it's more junior people starting off, I'm a lot more open-minded. I want people, I strongly believe, we were talking about earlier, everybody should be in sales at some point in their life. They should try it. Whether you want to go into marketing, you want to be a C-level executive, you need to understand sales. Everything is sales. We're all salespeople, no matter what you're doing in your life. You're selling something. Great place to learn. So come try it, see if you like it. A lot of people don't. Most people are going to fail, but do you really fail if you learn something? If you do it for a year or two, at least you know something about yourself and you know something better about business. So really eager.
So you don't mind somebody who might be brand spanking new, wet behind the ears?
Absolutely. I actually prefer it.
And why is that? Just curiosity.
Old dog, new tricks.
So this way you can train them yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Your top performers, like if I was able to go after a James and have him on board, you don't teach them anything. You don't do anything. You can't coach them.
Is that because James is not coachable, or is that a generic statement? Just so we're clear on that.
A little bit. No, it's because they're rock stars. I'm not going to tell him how to sell. He knows how to sell.
Right.
I'm going to sit there and enable him to do the right things, try and keep him on a path, more of a player coach. You can't tell top people anywhere in their career actually how to do the job. It's like I recruit a lawyer and I'm not a lawyer and I'm going to tell them what to do.
Right.
No. It's not possible. But with the junior people, a lot more open-minded. They're not quite sure if they should be in sales, even if they're naturally good there. You can actually work with them. You can mold them, and they look up to you. They need guidance. They need that player coach to actually go there. That being said, I also, in a stage where growing a team, I also know I need to hire the first 2 rock stars just to keep us going with, the orders, the customer relationships, so they can go off, be independent, keep things rolling. But for the next round, I strongly believe I'd rather grow them.
Now, how important, because we're talking about the individual, how important, shall we say, is the role, right? So many sales organizations today will have often a split, right? You'll have your inside sales development reps, and you might have your account execs or business development reps, etc. Pick your TLA. Yeah. I'm assuming you're not going to hire someone who's been an account exec to fill a sales development role, or is that wrong? Would you?
It would be a red flag.
Yep.
Why they're going backwards, in my opinion.
Yep.
I call them SDRs, or people call them BDRs,
Yep.
business development reps. That's a starting point. Your growth is going to be 12 to 24 months in that. If you have not moved into the account exec, or I call them closers, account executives.
Yep, but it's the same concept, right?
You're there. You're not accounting for anything other than sales, so go close something. Yeah, that's a step back. Why, if somebody is an account exec now going back to the role, they should have only had max 24 months.
Yep.
They weren't successful in it. They probably shouldn't be in sales if they haven't been promoted. If they've been successful, they would not go back. So if a resume came, or James brought me a resume and said, "Hey, Ken, I got this great candidate. It was an account executive, but now they want to start in our program," there's got to be a really good story. It's like, in natural, you're going backwards. Now, is it to get into a tech industry? Maybe there's just a reason. Maybe they just weren't really an account exec, and that was just a title. But probably not going to read too far into that resume.
So let me throw a question out here to all three of you. You can jump in wherever you want to, and I know, James, you'll have a lot of experience on this. And we're going to get into more topics deeper soon here. But the question I have is, sales is its own beast. It's its own personality. It's its own role. In many organizations, sales is somewhat, for lack of a better word, elevated above the other teams because they're the revenue. And that can create discord with the other teams. All right. And sometimes that's earned and sometimes it's not. So when I'm looking at bringing on a salesperson or multiple salespeople to grow the team, what do I need to be considering when I'm the impact on the company as part of the hiring process?
I mean, at the end of the day, your responsibility, if you're overseeing sales, is to make sure the harmony of your team is in place. So how do I play with the rest of my players on my team? If I'm going out to bring Sidney Crosby into my team, he is an elevated superstar. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to have a guy that's got to dish the puck to him. I still need to make sure leads are coming through from the marketing side of things. So it's about having the awareness about what does that skill set bring, what complements are required on the team to bring the best out of that person, but also having the courage to actually manage that person. Now, I don't need to tell a rock star salesperson how to be a rock star salesperson. I do need to have the ability to perform as manage that person so they meet the expectations of my business, of my customers, and of their peers. So, I think one of the fundamental mistakes I've seen from organizations is they give too much rope to their rockstar salespeople. And that leads to the invariable challenges further down the line with contracts, changes in compensation models. And, you get this whole nightmare scenario where you're firing your best performer because they've ruined the culture of your organization.
Or they leave.
Yeah, or they leave.
They get disengaged.
Yeah.
They just don't feel part of the culture anymore. And they start looking around like the grass is greener. And it doesn't matter how much they're actually being compensated. It could be a ridiculous amount of money. All of a sudden, they feel like they're actually on the outs and they're not in that inside, even though they're so important to your organization. It's almost like, I hate to say it because I'm a salesperson, but we're needy. We like hugs.
Kecia's actually not in that.
Yeah, we need to feel the love, right? Like it's they come off, they're type A, they're aggressive people, they're not sensitive. I absolutely opposite. I think the higher top performing salespeople are probably the most sensitive. They just hide it, and they need their ego stroked all the time.
And it's interesting listening to the two of you talk about the idea of growth, first of all, and then this rock star top performer, because I think one of the big mistakes that companies make is thinking that getting that rock star performer is actually going to be their business. And they perhaps don't set expectations properly to the rock star that they're part of a team. Mm-hmm. They believe they're coming in, they're going to own a huge territory, that it's exclusive rights to that territory. Because again, you might be overpromising, you're trying to get them in, you believe you need them. And I think you need to figure out in that initial stage, is this a good fit for my team? Because they might be the best salesperson in the world, but if they tank my team, then I might die anyway. So, I think that setting of expectations beyond just, the pure contractual terms, but, don't tell someone they're going to have an exclusive territory, because if you're in growth mode, that's probably not going to be the case. You might only have one salesperson when you start, but you might want to grow to the point where you have 50, and the concept of someone having all of North America isn't going to work in the long term.
Yeah. Let me jump in here, Kecia. I want to ask you a specific question. Because of your role and what you do, is there advice you could share? I'm going to assume that you've probably been involved in cleaning up some bad hires that, went to some kind of litigation. If we could go back in time, which is kind of where we are in this discussion right now, what advice would you give our listeners to preempt some of the common problems you see happening?
So I'd say, and I shared this in our pre-call discussions, that one of the biggest issues I see is fights around commission and what someone might be entitled to post-termination. And again, we're kind of in the honeymoon phase, we're in the selling phase, because at the end of the day, particularly if you're a salesperson doing the hiring, you're selling your company, you're selling yourself as the leader of this person. And when you're in sales mode, you might not also want to focus on the downside. What happens when the relationship breaks down? And that needs to be sorted out at the outset. It feels bad. It feels wrong. People don't like to do it. But if you don't do it, you're setting yourself up for more problems down the road. And not just for that employee, but the one who's coming in, because maybe they think they're going to be entitled to commission on every deal they've touched because you might have said that to them. But now you bring someone else in after they're gone who's going to also touch those deals. And now where's your profit?
So it's almost like a prenup for employment.
Very well said, James. Well said.
So, okay, so let me ask a question, because I
have
could
one of
learn
those?
here. Yeah.
Are you allowed to ask questions? I thought that was Daryl's job.
He's allowed.
We're going to ignore him. He's in marketing tonight. So how do I approach that conversation? So say I'm bringing Keni on board and I want to talk about a prenup with Keni. I mean, what are you advising me to do to set the tone for that conversation?
So it's protection for both sides, right? It's not just the employer hunkering down and saying, I don't want to give anything more than I have to. It's also the salesperson understanding what happens when we break up. So again, if I tell you that you're going to get nothing when we break up, that might affect your willingness to come in. But if I tell you the fair way that I'm going to assess what you get when we break up, then you're going to think about it. You'll take it to a lawyer. They'll explain to you what you might be entitled to, and you might realize that you're getting a little bit more. You're getting at least what you would expect to get absent a contract. You're making an informed decision at that point. So I like to pitch it as let's talk about that uncomfortable conversation now, so we both know getting into it what happens. Sorry, that's
Kenny's
not very
smiling.
sales
Yeah.
focused.
He's smiling. I want to know why you're smiling so much.
Well, two in one. No matter how transparent you are, I can't believe the things that you run into. Like you could go full kimono. It does
Oh,
not
I believe
matter,
it.
and you just never see it coming. The other thing is, so say we're in the honeymoon phase. I'm trying to recruit you to come work for my firm. And then we go, hey, let's have that uncomfortable conversation. Me as a salesperson is going to sugarcoat that really well, because it's just in me to basically like, well, this is what you get XYZ if you leave, but why would we even have that conversation? You're going to kill it, right? You're going to be here. You're going to make money. You're changing your career path to come work for me.
And that's where the sales
And
job.
I wouldn't be able to help myself not to make it look like it's got roses
But
all
that's
around.
okay. The sales job is okay, right? If you kill it, this becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right. But the other piece of it is two-sided. You might decide it's not working for the company with this person, but they might also decide it's not working and they might leave. Yep. And so don't they want certainty around when they make that decision? So again, it's both sides. And I think we come at it too one-sided.
Yeah. And so the potential employee brings it up to me, says, hey, what happens if it doesn't work out and I leave? I start going, red flag. Is this the person I really want to hire? So, and then I'm cautioning the salesperson to even bring it up.
So that's how you react.
It's
but
vicious circle.
Is that how everybody reacts? Because you could be bringing your own baggage, with all respect, to that emotional response, right? Where somebody else might go, I love how clinical they are. And if they're going to be this legalistic about an employment contract, then I know they're going to be this legalistic about a sales contract, and my firm will be protected.
I actually have a real life story around this, and don't always recommend it, but hiring a good childhood friend who's a rock star salesperson, does very well, has always done very well. So my risk was very low bringing the person in, but our uncomfortable conversation is, if I don't perform, what do I get? All that. And he had the best answer I've ever heard in my life. He goes, Keni, if I'm not making money, I'm going to leave. You're never going to have to get rid of me.
Yeah. And that's a sign of a professional.
Hired.
Right? That individual's hired.
But that's not the conversation. That's one of
Correct.
How many hundreds of people I've dealt with.
But I think Kecia's point, you start the conversation earlier in the hiring process. I mean, if you think about, it's a risk management strategy. If I'm going through the first interview, you and I are kind of falling in love and we think we're going to kind of run off together and alone.
As he looks into my eyes.
Yeah, deeply. And the conversation is, hey, Keni, one of the things we do as part of our process is we want you to understand all of the implications of our commission plan. We are a transparent organization, so this is how we do it. And I know we're going to talk about compensation later, but typically every issue I've had with sales, people, any risks I've had post termination or exit is around the complicated or overcomplicated commission plan. So I think the conversation's easy if the commission plan is straightforward, because it should say what you get, what you don't get, and it shouldn't be hidden away in small print.
And to Kenny's point, I mean, if a candidate says to me in interview number one, what happens if it doesn't work out? For sure, red flags. But as the organization, as part of your sales pitch, I think your sales pitch to them is, we both need to understand what happens if it's not working out for either one of us.
Yeah.
It's almost like I want to bring HR into the prenup and be my lawyer at that conversation. Be like, hey, James, we like each other. This all looks great. It's all honeymoon phase. We're probably not even looking into the nitty gritty. Enter HR. Keni walks out of the room and they can have a conversation.
But I don't think it needs to be a clinical conversation.
No.
Again, I think people get really nervous, and I definitely have clients push back on me when I say, look, you need to be clear with the terms. There needs to be definite sort of terms around what happens. And clients say, whoa, I don't want to wreck the honeymoon phase. I don't want to jump again already to divorce. And I get that. And it doesn't need to be so formal and so clinical. But I think not having that conversation is setting you up for failure. And I think the other piece of it, we talked before we started about the hot market we're in right now. Salespeople are going to leave if they're not happy. So it's, it might not have been the case years ago, but it certainly is the case now. So I think we all need to understand that.
Yeah, and it's a poaching market. Sorry, I mean, we're in a headhunting market. I mean, we are proactively stealing talent from organizations. So again, understanding the implications of that. I mean, the thing that still scares me more than anything else is competition agreements. What's enforceable, what's not enforceable. How long should I not talk to my old clients for? What happens if they call me? I'm not going to suggest that every time I've left an organization, they've followed me with some legal intent, but I've seen it, and it's still the one piece of it which I think I do like your suggestion at the front of the conversation. You literally say, we're going to talk about this. Yeah, we are going to put this on the table today. We can't promise things are going to end badly. I don't hire junior staff like you. I tend to hire more senior people who've been bitten in the backside before.
Yes.
So, an SDR might have a different perspective to somebody who's got 25 years selling to a board level individual. So they're probably a little bit more interested.
The junior person is excited to start a new career, try something. They are just smiling and nodding half the time. And they're just excited, right? It's probably the first suit they've ever worn into an interview sometimes, or change career. That's really hard when you're trying to be transparent with them, because they're just smiling, nodding, and they don't know. So they're also kind of sweethearts that they don't realize that there are organizations out there that will take advantage of people. They're everywhere. So always worry about them.
Let me segue here for a second. I want to start into kind of the big debate, which is, Keni, you made some interesting comments, and I know I was shocked too. When it was really, you made the comment of, I want, the greener the better, because then I don't need to worry about overcoming established bad habits. Right? That's the first part. Yet James is here saying, I don't hire junior if I have a choice. I want someone who's more seasoned and has lived life a little bit and got some life experiences that they can apply out of that. So in both of those situations, whether they're junior or they're senior, they need to be taught your product or your service, your solution offering. They need to be taught your target or persona or personas who you're selling to, right? And their titles, their pains, their issues. They need to be taught how to solve, not sell, when it comes to your particular offering. They need to be taught, whether it's language or verbiage or whatever. They need to be taught certain, your sales style. Maybe you're Sandler, maybe you're something else. Who knows, right? Spin, whatever, nothing. You got the idea. Yeah. There's a lot of teaching that needs to go on, even if their experience, like what James likes, that's specific to you. So I asked this question because I would argue, and James, I look for you. I make this on no empirical data, so you can correct me. I suggest that there's probably a higher turnover in sales than there are in other industries.
Without question.
Without question.
Yeah. We advise that you have turnover in your sales team every year.
Yeah, I mean, there's the classic, you should always call the bottom 10% or more, right? Yeah. And I get that. But, sales can be one of those ones because you either get it or you don't. Or they're not happy with the money they're making and they see a better opportunity where the grass is potentially greener, although rarely is it. So nature of the beast, can sales be taught? I'm going to start with you, my good friend Keni, because this is
absolutely going to be taught if you already have it in you.
Define have it in you.
You have to have some type of natural ability to connect with human beings. which is hard in the newer generation, to be able to sit here, make eye contact like we are right now, and have some type of rapport. A lot of people don't know they're actually really good at it. They're working in restaurants, bartending, working with children, doing a lot of things that they don't think is sales. They're selling constantly. But again, it has to be in them. They can't be that shy person that looks away. They want to be the first person having a conversation. They want to genuinely learn about other people, or be really good at faking it. If you have that,
to be able to deal with failure.
Oh yeah, you gotta lose all the time. I love losing because I know every time I lose, I'm that much closer
like
to winning.
Fan or something.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, you love losing, but you're not a loser. I remember you specific about that, right?
Call me whatever you like.
Okay, no problem.
You saw the way I spelled my name.
But that's just charming and endearing, is what that is. So, I mean, James, this is what you do for a living. Can sales be taught? Because I'm assuming if you bring the wrong candidate to your client, that won't last, and you'll be honoring that guarantee you probably provide.
Yes, I mean, we're fortunate because we only look at the proven entities. We don't look at those who are at the early stage of career. But I know for myself, so I was a bit like Keni described. I was working in hospitality. I was running a pub. I was approached by somebody who basically ran a publishing house and said, we want to teach you to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to bring the work ethic. You have to bring the resiliency. You've got to bring that kind of get stuff done mindset to this job, and we'll teach you the rest. So those core kind of values need to exist in you. So we always kind of internally say, people who make great salespeople have typically dealt with adversity in their life. They've dealt with it and they've come out the other side. So everything else for me can be taught. For us, we're looking at people who've then built on that and said, okay, not only have I learned my craft, I've now found my niche and my sector where my personality style and my approach lends itself most effectively. So whether that be FinServe, technology, headhunting, after a while you start to figure out what people you sell most effectively to. But I do believe if you've got those core competencies, that resiliency, adversity in your background, sales can be a very successful career path for you.
Kecia, what are your thoughts on this? What have you seen? I mean, clearly, because you actually present an interesting perspective, right? Because you have a perspective of, from, shall we say, a legal point of view, but you also have a perspective. I mean, I look at you, you're a partner. So as much as you are, a practitioner of what you do, there's an expectation that you're going to be yourself selling your firm's services. So as you look around the table at your peers, if you look at your colleagues in other, firms, can sales be taught? She's smiling and hesitating, folks.
Well, I'm smiling and hesitating only because I hate it when people just say, I agree with what's already been said, but I do. But I do think resiliency is significant. And I would add to it, there's a genuineness that needs to come through. And that can probably be taught. But I think that needs to be there. You need to actually fundamentally believe in what you're selling. And if you don't believe in what you're selling, no one's going to buy it. And I think that needs to come through. So I would say those are the two big ones for me.
So let me jump in. Let me stir the pot, because you guys are agreeing way too much and we're supposed to be a debate here, all right? So let's just look at the basics. If I'm going to be a sales professional, I'm going to engage with my audience. And how am I going to engage? I'm going to engage perhaps face-to-face live events. That's common and very popular. But probably more prevalent is I'm going to engage via email, via social media, via telephone. Those are the multi-channels I'm going to engage. Most people I know avoid the phone like the plague and will not use it.
So such an interesting statement you just made. We find with juniors, new employees, they don't want to pick up the phone. They revert to email.
That's what they know.
And we have to teach them.
And don't you wish they could speak like they write? They write beautifully. And
yes.
They speak horribly.
Yeah, they get that kind of tongue-tied stage fright thing, right?
I wish I can barely spell.
Yeah.
But I can hold a conversation.
Correct.
In my job,
and they're the opposite. They can't hold a conversation.
Yes. Yes.
It's insane.
Yeah. So they're going to default to what they know. So let's just arbitrarily pick some parameters. Let's say, 35, 40 and younger, you're going to hide behind email. But if you're older, you're actually going to default probably to the phone, because that's how we grew up. That's how we're biased, right? Social media is a whole different thing, right? Because I see people who, and when you're young, SDRs, as you talked about, Keni, they think they're social media savvy because they're Instagramming, Snapchatting all the time, and that is a completely different kind of beast than using LinkedIn, which is the platform of business. And so most of them get excited when they like your share, which does nothing on LinkedIn. You have to engage, you have to follow, you have to have an opinion, you have to have a take, you have to be able to be prospecting. If they do engage, they're engaging with templates because they're lazy. They don't know how to customize. They don't know how to personalize. So what is it we've said they need here to sell? You need to have skills to be able to speak on multiple channels, not just email. You need to have skills to be able to research so you can customize and personalize. You need to be able to have time management skills. All right. You need to be able to understand how when they finally do pick up that phone, you've got 30 seconds before they hang up on you. How are you going to engage? And don't waste that first 20 seconds saying, "Hi, Keni. My name is Daryl. How you doing today?" No one gives a crap. No. So I'm just touching the edge of this. How do you teach those skills? That's a lot of skills to teach.
It is. So again, it goes back to getting it, toughen them up. And again, if they don't stay in sales, it's good if you toughen people up. I really lack of saying anything offside, but everybody's too much of a wuss now.
Yeah, no.
Everybody.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fellow I follow online, and he always uses the expression, "Time to put your big boy pants on," right?
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, you're not living at mom and dad's anymore. Time to get out, go do something with your life, and don't cry about it when somebody gives you bad feedback, positive feedback, I guess.
But that's a good point to your bad feedback point. You like being a loser because you learn something from it. The bad feedback, you improve, you learn.
Glass half full.
Right.
You can kick me as hard as you want, and I'll learn to get out of the way eventually.
And can't you challenge them that in the interview process, right? Like actually grill them hard to say, I'm not convinced that you got the right stuff, even though you secretly like, please take my job, right? But you want to challenge them to see how they react.
Yeah. So the big coaching I like to always do is I'll use a line back photocopier days. No, I'm not that greasy.
I used to sell photocopiers.
I know, what a greasy industry. Learned a lot though, toughen up my skin.
Oh yeah.
Kicked out. I got to hit like 50 doors a day. And people
at least
tell F off, get out of here, get out of my no soliciting. It was awesome. Kids, that's what we used to do before social media. Knock on doors.
Yeah. That was very social media at that point in time.
Yeah. Human contact. I go with coaching of embrace the no. And it was a Mark Brule, great sales-minded person here in Ottawa. Known him for years. I'd say he was one of my sales mentors early on, but he'd embrace the no. He goes, you have to teach yourself. At that time, I was the young guy, to embrace the no. Every time somebody says no, you want to. It's like, absolutely. I love that no. Like, get out, F off, whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. He says, say thank you to everybody that tells you no. And no matter how rude or anything are, make sure they say thank you. One, they turn around and go, oh, you're welcome. they disarm. But by saying that no, you're toughening up your skin, but you're actually just realizing like, well, nobody's dying here. I'm just here trying to sell you some services, make some money, hopefully make your organization better because I truly believe in my product set. But you got to embrace the no. You got to toughen up. Unfortunately, in life, you're going to be getting no a lot outside of work as well. You're going to get broken up with. But you're going to not get into that university.
But what you're talking about there, that's not sales. That's actual, that's emotion. That's a psychology. You're not teaching them how to sell a damn thing. You're teaching them to accept rejection and to embrace rejection. Very different. So can that be taught? Or do you do the whole EQ testing before you ever hire them?
Oh, I don't like EQ testing.
I hate them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can toughen people up. You can teach them what to look for, but they're either going to have it or not. So we're right back to where we kind of started.
Yeah.
They have to have that in them. I feel why I love the SDR program is I'll take 10 candidates, 10 to 20% are going to turn over, one leave, one get poached with this guy over here to my left, or there's going to fail.
Yep. So I love that.
But I'm going to filter it.
Yep.
Out of that 10, how many am I really trying to get to account executives? For me personally, 2.
Yeah.
So did I really teach those 2, or did I just
there's going to be attrition. When you hire them, there's going to be attrition.
I think at the end of the day, I'm gold mining. I'm trying to teach them. I'm trying to get them better, but they have to have those core values. So yes, it can be taught. Not really.
Sounds more like coaching than teaching, though.
It does to me.
Yeah, 100%.
It does.
So bringing it out of them. So I'm kind of spinning myself out of the is it teachable to actually no, it's coachable. But I got a gold mine. I got to filter down, get those 2 that are worth the time and effort out of, say, that 10.
Yeah. So for me, the power of no and goodness, I used to be in ad sales. So we had the wonderful thing of call 100, 150 people a day and get told PFOs. So we actually counted our PFOs, please F off. So we were least polite in England about it.
Mm-hmm. Please in front of it, yes.
But it's kind of shifted for me. So for me, my measure of whether somebody can successfully sell within my sector is their ability to walk in a room and have a conversation with somebody they don't know. Because for me, we actually implemented a rule when we started our company, we'll never do a cold call. We don't use the phone to solicit anybody anymore. Because of the service we offer as a human to human. We are people.
But you do get on the phone eventually.
Yeah.
Right. You may start it on email and social, but then you go offline when you go to discovery.
Go to an event. We find a way that we can walk into a room with an audience and we can have a conversation face to face. So for me, the core strength, and which is why I love people from hospitality. Take Kelsey's background, and she still works in hospitality. She loves it that much. She loves being in a situation where she's in control of that communication that's happening. On the fly, can deal with a problem that comes up.
Kelsey, how many hundreds of conversations do you have in a shift at work? Right. Yeah.
She's saying, if you can't hear her, she's saying tons. And by the way, if you're wondering, who's Kelsey? They're all talking about this Kelsey. Kelsey is live tweeting this webinar. And if you haven't caught it, go to @Keynote Group on Twitter and you can engage with Kelsey directly. But carry on.
Yeah, no. So for me, it's that fundamental ability to have a conversation with a stranger. And the other thing I always test for is follow-up. So for me, they must have the ability. So I give everybody a task. And it's a completely pointless task. It has no benefit to me. It has no benefit to them. But I ask them to follow up. And I simply will not hire somebody who doesn't do that follow up. Yep. Or they take too long to follow up. So it's that speed and the urgency. I'm biased. I started in hospitality. So I know that you don't have 20 minutes to get back to them because their steak was undercooked. Likewise, I don't have 20 minutes to get back to my client if there's a problem. I want them to move quick and react. So if they have those within them, I can teach them the rest. But I need them to have that instinct to talk to people they don't know. Even if they're an introvert, it doesn't matter. You can still force yourself to do it. And they must have the desire to respond quickly to situations that arise.
I'm going to jump in here. Then we're going to move on. Just out of time. A couple of things I'll throw out there. I believe sales can be taught, but I think you also need to empower. So I think you need to have formal sales enablement tools and processes, to have scripting, messaging, content to help them onboard and ramp up, because they are going to struggle at first, and that makes sense. All right. And the other thing, I think you need tools like sales engagement tools. You can actually help them keep their cadence and make sure they're making the 100, 150 calls a day and emails and social media and doing the right follow-up with the right timing. So you eliminate the human tendency to procrastinate or forget or get distracted. So a combination of teaching, enablement, and empowerment with engagement tools, I think you've got the right solution. If you don't have that, then you put yourself at risk. And I think you would agree, my fine friend here, Kecia, that there's a big expense incurred if I don't do that.
Indeed, significant expense.
Yeah.
And I think really, James, I think you nailed it, the follow-up piece, the comfort in front of people, and that's something you're going to get right out of the gates. I mean, Keni's comment about, I want to be able to see people's eyes when they're talking to me, right? You're going to know that in an interview. It's going to come across right away. So can they engage with people? Are they going to follow up? When they leave that interview, are they following up with you? Is there a yes and question that comes out of that interview?
I know for me, when I'm interviewing, the first thing I wait for, it's funny you said this, James, is I wait to see how long it takes to get hey, thanks for having me, for interviewing me. I just wait to see who's going to say that and not, right? Yeah. And they may have aced it and I may still hire them, but right away I know what I'm working with. They didn't send it. Okay, got to work on that follow-up skills, right? Mm-hmm. All right, let's move it along here. Let's talk about the whole conversation of keeping peak performers, because Keni, you talked about gold. You said 2 of those 10, whatever would be gold, it'd be AEs. I want to keep them. So maybe I will start here with my wonderful friend Kecia to say, are there certain things that we should do from your experience, then we'll go around the table, to protect good salespeople within the organization?
I'm going to say, from a legal perspective, there are certain things that you can, have in place, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about whether they're happy with the organization, they believe in what the organization's doing, they like who's managing them, and they like their team. So I think in terms of keeping them on board and keeping them happy, that's much less of a legal issue. So processes are going to be important. That's where I might come in. I might help you with a formal performance management sort of system that you're working through. That's obviously going to help if people are getting that regular feedback and getting plans in place to help them improve. To Darryl's point, that sort of teaching part of it, the coaching part that Keni's talking about. But, we always, I think, run towards things like non-competes and non-solicits, and we want those in place. At the end of the day, those aren't going to keep someone there. It just might affect where they go when they leave.
Those are going to push them to actually hurt your culture within the organization. The non-competes aren't they're just going to get grumpy, bring other people down with them. Hey,
well, it's a whole other conversation as to what can be enforced as well that we can have another day.
Absolutely. Need some
We'll
advice on
take
that
all
one.
your billing if you actually have that conversation over
Just
here. So
free
yeah.
advice.
So Kenny, when it comes to peak performers, what have you done to make sure you maintain those?
You got to find a way to keep them engaged so they're still excited about it. I call it sales ADD. We all have kind of that squirrel mentality. Squirrel runs by, dog and a squirrel.
Squirrel.
They get bored. So how do you keep them engaged? That the end goal is not just all the money, because if they're that good, they're making the money. They're going to go find that money anywhere. So they have to believe in what they're doing, that you care about them, because again, they are sensitive, even though they don't show it. Salespeople are definitely really sensitive. It's shocking.
I've heard the word insecure used for salespeople.
Absolutely.
Often,
That's
yes.
actually, yeah. I'm going to go back and tell one of them.
Kenny, are you insecure? Just so we're clear on this.
Everybody wants to know they're insecure, right? But yeah, they got to stay part of the fabric, see the end goal of the organization, the believe that that's actually attainable and that the company's growing better, or they're just going to get bored. If they're bored, they're gone.
And if I could just add to what both Keni and I have said here, I think the other piece of it for your newer people, the people that maybe don't have that experience that Daryl's going to train to become awesome salespeople, those people, we need to be really clear about their metrics for success. If we are dealing with an inherently insecure group of people, I think it's even more important. And I think we've heard too from newer people to the workforce that they need to understand what it means to succeed. How does that look? When am I getting there? Am I on track? So I think that's important. And I think the other piece of it for those awesome performers, those people that are knocking it out of the park that you're looking to recruit right now, Keni, those people, we need to be careful not to overquota them. I hear that time and time again. When we keep ramping up their quota because they're hitting it, now suddenly they're multipliers above those people coming in and they're working harder to make the money. I think we need to be conscious of that as well.
Yeah, no, for me, I mean, to take what you guys said, I mean, I fundamentally believe, and a good friend of mine, Trevor Munther, and I think, Kecia as well, always says people need to know two things: that what they do matters and someone gives a damn. So for me, the best tactic and the thing that I've learned with high performing salespeople is you have to continue to challenge them to improve. So often I see organizations make the mistake of they have an elite performer who's doing great things, but they just leave alone. They just actually kind of start to ignore them. They're that good. They're like, well, they don't need me. I'm going to give them the space and everything else. But they're actually, from that insecurity, they're looking to be reassured they're doing a good job. But they also want to know that they're moving forward and they're progressing and they're seeing new challenges. So it's finding ways to say, okay, let's bring this into your role. Are you interested in teaching? Are you interested in leading? Are you interested in opening up new market segments for them? Too often people make the mistake of basically leaving their top performers alone. It's actually probably the worst thing you can do. You've got to also be brave enough. I look at Kenny's background. Kenny, how long do you normally stay in a job? About 3 years until you move on?
Actually, I think my shortest is 4.
Okay, so you're about a 4 to 5 year guy per job? Okay. So if I'm BriteSky, I'm thinking to myself, in 4 to 5 years, there's a bloody good chance you're going to leave. So the secret is to say, after 3 years, what can we do to change Kenny's role or evolve his job so that he keeps that next stint with our business with us? And that's a very challenging and scary thing as a business owner when I've got a guy who is fundamentally core to my success to say, I want to move them out of the job. So that's that succession planning, performance planning conversation. Most organizations do a really poor job at.
So I would say, if I recap what I just heard you all say, a lot of this
We're agreeing again.
You're agreeing again, yes. So your takeaway actionable items from this, if you're in HR and sales leadership, is, and let's start with you're in HR. If you're going to hire the sales individual, have you equipped them with strong, solid, engaged leadership who will coach and adapt to the individual, and is a good observer of human behavior and dynamics, and knows when to come in and knows when to back off. It knows how to encourage and knows how to motivate, right? There's a reason pro sports teams have coaches. The players are already pro caliber, but you still need the coach to make sure that they understand the objective, they understand the consequences, and they're motivated.
And in pro sports, I'm going to go ahead and say they're actually ego managers.
Yes, they are.
Not coaches.
Yes.
At the SDR level, which we call like the AHL of what I do, so they can move up to NHL. It's less of an ego thing. As they evolve, they get egos, they get better, then you're managing egos. You have to make sure their ego is taken care of.
Yep.
Not to a point where they're disruptive and they're causing bigger problems across the organization. But if they're not engaging back and forth, they're not going to be committed to.
All right, so let's jump into talk about, we talked about this a few times, compensation. All right, so Kecia, you talked about, effectively, I'm paraphrasing, you said being transparent, with expectations. So let's talk about compensation. Let's talk about transparency. Is money a motivator for people? We often assume it's the number one motivator, but is it? And then how important in this whole compensation discussion, whether it's I'm hiring somebody or to James's point, it's 3 years on, I'm looking, how can I progress them? What does that mean for them as they progress in their compensation? What's the long-term plan? So I'll throw it out there. I'll start with you, Kecia. She's scrambling. Here we go. She didn't see that one coming.
Scrambling's a little
She's totally scrambling. I'm looking at her. She's
okay,
desperate.
Maybe a little
there we
bit.
go.
But there were a lot of nods around the room.
There were. I know.
A lot of nods. I wasn't sure I was going to get targeted. So in terms of that piece around compensation, when I talk about being transparent at the beginning, I think there's two really important pieces. First is clarity, transparency. The second is flexibility. So when you're building a comp plan, you don't want to lock something in that can never be changed. You need to have the ability as the employer, as the organization, to change it, because your organization will change. You will evolve. You might even change business lines. There's a whole bunch of things that could happen there that you haven't even contemplated. And so building in some flexibility, so it's not this is your comp plan forevermore, but here's how it looks now, and understand that it's subject to change, likely on an annual basis. And the other piece of it I've heard from people who are in sales, and you guys can echo or not, but the sales job you as managers need to do in advance of those changes are critical. Dumping a new plan on someone the day it's in effect, or 30 days after the fiscal year already started, is going to cause some real challenges. So doing your sales jobs leading up, hey, listen, you know how much growth we've had over the last few years, we're double the sales force. I know you were doing, all of the GTA. We're going, as you know, we have 2 other people and they've been sort of helping you out, but we're going to be doing a little bit different. The commission structure will be changing. So that sales job that you do leading up is all great news, but the other piece of it is that document that you signed or that handshake discussion you had when you brought them on, is that capable of sustaining that type of change without triggering, the dreaded constructive dismissal or some other significant issue that's going to potentially end the relationship with this fantastic salesperson. So did I scramble well enough?
You did actually really, really well.
That's impressive scrambling.
Right.
So yeah,
exactly. Very much so. Kenny, and then I'll come to you, James. Kenny, what are your thoughts on compensation? Because I'm sure this has been a conversation or two over your career.
Oh, of course, compensation. You get to a certain point in your career, you don't even talk to somebody. So let's just jump to numbers, right? Yeah. Because if you're already happy where you are, well, if you're going to poach me, let's just jump into it before we waste anybody's time. The transparent with it has to change every year. I've always believed in that because it does. The big pitch on that, though, for me is look what the rest of the organization is doing to help you succeed and hit the numbers or over exceed you're already doing. And this is how we're going to get you to the new number, because we're getting those sales enablement tools, marketing's putting XYZ into this. We're going to put more people opportunities in front of you. As long as you build that up on the day it comes out, they're not in shock, they're aware of it, and they're good. The thing we always fall into, and salespeople always get grumpy about it when those changes, doesn't matter how open you are with it or transparent, is they will find a way to complain about it, that they're getting screwed every single time. And you could literally be handing them stacks of cash and they would feel like there's $1 missing. It's a little different. It's this, or, excuse. Most of the time it's because they actually don't understand the comp plan. If they actually would take the time, listen, or the manager sit down and actually go through them even deeper, they actually realize, no, the goal of the company is not to screw you. The goal is to make you make more money, because what does that do? Well, that makes the company more money, makes the company more successful, hit their goals. But they get this mindset is, oh, I'm getting screwed, or I don't get this. Once they're down that path, that's a rabbit hole, and I don't think you're coming back from that, because then there's no trust between.
But surely that's on the employer side. So my biggest frustration, and this happens all the time, is comp plans are too complicated.
Oh, yeah.
If I want my wish in this world, if there's a few, one is to retire and be a snowball bum. But my next wish after that is that every compensation plan when it comes to sales is 1 page max, and your 5-year-old could explain it to you. It's when people turn around and say, I don't actually know how I make my money, or I have to have a 3-hour conversation with my manager to understand my pay. That for me is the biggest failing on you as a sales manager, is people don't understand your comp plan. And it's typically because we overcomplicate them.
Yep.
And it's endless. I see it every single day.
But the key elements really that we need to make sure we cover off, and you guys jump in that do sales and live it, are, at what point is there an entitlement, right? We need to crystallize that. If we're not clear about that, then we're going nowhere, right? So number one, and then number two, at what point does that entitlement mean money flowing to the salesperson, right? So your entitlement might crystallize, for example, when, you know, a first contract is signed, but the money might not flow until the client pays.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the two key pieces that need to be set out in a comp plan. And that's going to help you both during employment and if it ends.
I always
Jumping ahead a
recommend
little
pay
bit
on
there.
build. Don't pay early, because when you start getting into the clawback world, not worth the headache.
Yes.
Not worth it.
No.
All right, let's move it on. Kecia, effectively and legally exiting underperformers. So, what quick and dirty sound bites can you give us?
Wow, quick and dirty. So my quick and dirty sound bites as Daryl's telling me to wrap it up, are really, you need to be consistently performance managing. It shouldn't be a surprise to a salesperson that they're not killing it. We should be transparent. If you have a dashboard that's showing how people are doing against their peers, ideal. That's part of the transparency piece. If you're managing them and they're not killing it, they're missing their numbers, they're giving you a big number that they're going to hit and they're never hitting it, you know, that's on us as managers. I say us, but you know, the managers, it's also on the employee, but that should never come as a surprise, number one. Number two, don't drag it out. Don't keep going on and on and on. If you've reached the point where you realize that it's not working out, we need to end it. And what I hear from clients is that you have sales managers who are eternal optimists, and I'm hearing it in Keni's voice, eternal optimists. You always think you have the salesperson, you're going to be able to coach them, you're going to be able to train them, they're going to get there. But then when you're done, what the HR people I deal with say to me is, now they're done. They want them gone. They have no patience. They don't want to deal with anything. They need them out. There's no documentation. There's no performance management. Nothing's happened. So that's a challenge. So I think, you know, as you're training your sales managers, you need to train them that they actually need to be not just always blue skying people. They need to actually be managing, bright sky, blue sky, but important to not always be focusing on the positive. But I would say that's the big piece. And then the second piece is what again, talking about that crystallization piece. What are they entitled to? When is the entitlement triggering? Figure out what you're going to owe them, because as a salesperson, that's going to be one of the first questions they ask. What about that big deal I'm working on? What about that thing that's almost signed? And get some legal advice on that one. I don't have time to get into it.
Would I be correct in assuming from a common legal aspect that probably constructive dismissal is one of the more common aspects that happen after the fact, or are there other common legal?
Right. So we see with salespeople, we see things like non-solicit concerns, non-competes, which, you know, often are not enforceable in Canada, frankly, on the non-compete side. We see concerns around confidentiality, client lists, all those types of things leaving. The constructive dismissal is a funny concept, and it really is triggered during employment when your employment terms and conditions change in a fundamental way. It triggers your right to treat it as a constructive dismissal. So that's a little bit of a different issue. But you need to be very clear with the employee, their entitlements on the day that you're ending the employment. What are they getting? What are they not getting? How is that going to be determined? And again, be fair. Don't terminate them the day before you know a contract's going to be signed to screw them out of $10,000 in commission. That's just bad for you. It's bad for them, and it's going to mean a fight.
And I'm guessing it never has it been more true when it comes to employees that it's worth the investment in good legal counsel to make sure the employment contracts, expectations, etc., are all clearly outlined. And I like how you said it earlier, Kecia, not just to protect the employer, but also to protect the employee.
Absolutely. That little bit of review that you can get your lawyer to do, hopefully it's me, but the little bit you can get your lawyer to do before you hire someone, it'll be worth its weight in gold. And certainly before you end employment, let them get eyes on whatever the contracts are, verbal, written, whatever it is. Let them tell you what the entitlement of the employee is so that you're dealing with it properly, because it's a lot more expensive and time consuming to deal with it through litigation.
All right, James, I'm going to bump to you about the importance of not disrupting the organization. So, you know, you are out there, you're finding these talented individuals and you're bringing them into the organization. You're going to hear firsthand from that new employee, because they're going to say, you promised me this, you found me, you recruited me, and it's not as promised. Similarly, Keni, you're there with the team and someone's new coming in, and they're going to perhaps disrupt the culture and the vibe you have going on, the energy. What do we do to create positive messaging and make sure it's a win-win for everybody?
So I think the first area is not positive messaging, is actually clear messaging and clear communication. As you know, it starts from everything you're talking about. You're celebrating successes, you're recognizing failures of the group, of the organization, you're dealing with challenges together. You know, we see sales leaders who will hide the bad news. They'll only share the goods and the positives with their team. They'll literally avoid telling people when things are struggling, so whether it's profit issues, whether it's product, customers. So it's about actually having a ethos of transparency around how that sales operations run. So when somebody comes in, they understand why somebody new is coming to the team. They're actually engaged in the hiring process. We always recommend for a salesperson you do at least 3 interviews. You can do the first round of interview, which is let's get to know each other, hold hands a little bit and see if we're compatible. Second stage of the interview is actually to really get down into the details, discuss the compensation plan. And the final stage is they present a business plan to you of how they're going to succeed in your organization, and they do a meet and greet with the team at that third phase. So your sales team actually feel like they're involved. They don't have the ability to make the decision. They have the ability to provide feedback. So when that person comes in, it's not a surprise. It's not, happy Monday, by the way, Keni just got fired. Let me introduce you to Kelsey. It's an involved process.
I agree, but I also love having people feel the fire of a new warm body that might compete with them.
Yeah.
Or
a little bit of tension is not a bad thing.
My best buddy Bob that used in the desk beside me, because ultimately it's not the new person's fault. It's not why Bob got fired. Bob got fired because Bob didn't do his job.
Do you leave a box in the corner of the office? You stick on someone's desk once in a while just as a threat? Yeah.
I hate to say it, it's not a bad thing when you have potential employees being paraded through the sales office. All of a sudden the calls go up. All of a sudden people sit up, take notice. It's quite a good motivator. Lack of cracking a whip, it works pretty darn well. It makes people be a little bit more accountable that we're all expendable.
But also, it reminds accountability, to your point, right?
Exactly.
So it can
Here to do a job,
and that can be positive. That can be positive. All right. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle back here. So we got lots of questions, but ironically, my wonderful crew here answered them all as we were talking. So I'm going to skip that section, and I'm going to kind of go around here because each individual you've heard today, folks, whether it be Kecia or Keni, and of course James, have all got some brilliant insights on this. I did hear a theme. The theme I heard over and over and over again was communication. Over communicate. Manage expectations. Be clear with your expectations. Be concise so it's clear. Be proactive. Do you have the right infrastructure? Do you have the right coach and guidance to nurture them, onboard them, mature them, transition them? So a lot of this is not on the individual. A lot of this actually is on the organization to make sure that individual is equipped to succeed. Hiring is just the first step. So you can't look at it just on its own. You have to look at it holistically in the whole big, from the micro to the macro. That's what I heard today. Kecia, if they wanted to learn more about you, your firm, what you do, they want to seek your advice because they loved your answers today, and there maybe a few things you said hit close to home, where can they reach you?
Best spot to reach me is email. It's kpodetz@ehlaw.ca.
ehlaw.ca. And of course, I'm assuming they can just go to ehlaw.ca to learn more about the firm.
Absolutely. Thanks, Daryl.
All right. And by the way, she's busy on LinkedIn as well. She tells me she's on it all the time. So you can check it out there on Kecia Podetz. So there you go. Keni, over to you. What's the best way to reach you?
Go to BriteSky.ca or personal email.
And that's BRITE Sky, right?
Sky. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Can you sing the jingle for us?
I haven't heard the radio ad yet.
Okay.
What station did you hear that on?
Live 88.5.
Oh,
there we go.
He's a my podcast. I guess I'm in a podcast.
There we go.
Or Keni.Gibson, KENI.Gibson@BriteSky.ca.
All right.
We'll be more than happy to have a bigger conversation about 100% pure Canadian cloud.
And of course, you can also reach Keni on Twitter too. Is that not correct?
No Twitter, LinkedIn.
No Twitter. That's what
I had to give up on a
Kecia
couple.
was Twitter and LinkedIn. She was rocking the social. You were
LinkedIn. I'm quite
LinkedIn.
active, so
there we go.
Way to
but of course, email always works. And James, of course, everything about Keynote and what you guys do, where to reach you, because you're prolific. You're on there all the time. You're speaking everywhere. It's really kind of annoying. I don't want to say there because you're like on my feed nonstop. Talk to us. Where can they reach you?
James at KeynoteSearch.com is always the best way to get me. And through our social, obviously our marketing team is kind of rocking it, so they are making plenty of noise. And then everything about us and our business is Keynote.group.
All right, guys. So with that, we're done. Keynote.group. If you like this webinar, of course, there's more right there. Past contents, everything related to running your organization and making sure you have the right people with the right processes to have success in your business ventures. We're out of here, folks. My name is Daryl Prale. I had a blast today. I hope you did too. As promised, we're going to send you a recording soon. Until then, though, you take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.